Yo, so we're gonna get started. I'm Michael. I'm part of the Denver hub in the Sunrise electoral team in Colorado. I'm a young activist, out here. Like many of you, I'm fighting for a livable future, but specifically in communities of color. Um, I want to be a voice for people who don't exactly have the opportunity to share theirs. So yeah, tonight we're gonna be talking about what we won, knowing all the results, um, and also the results we haven't seen yet. We're also going to hear from a Green New Deal champion, Andrew Romanoff, uh, who we can work to support for his election next Tuesday, as well as some amazing speakers like my boy Bill McKibben and Shutez Scott, aka X. Uh, so yeah, we're gonna get started. Um, but yeah, I want to give a big shout out to our partner on the call, Progressive Change Campaign Committee, aka PCCC. Sounds cool, right? Co-founder Adam Green also will be speaking tonight too. So I'm hyped. I hope you guys are hyped as much as I am, even though I don't know if you can be as hyped as I am. But we're gonna get started with this talk. I'm gonna pass it off to my girl Michelle. Get it.
What's up, everybody? Thanks so much for joining this really important call. I'm sure you're like me, you're coming around from this hype from this past Tuesday. I know we don't have official results yet, but it's been just an incredible experience to get to be a part of those races too. My name's Michelle. I'm the Mountain West Regional Organizer. I live here in Colorado. And I've been doing a lot of work around this race to get Andrew Romanoff elected to U.S. Congress or to U.S. Senate. I just want to say that with all of these races, we have flexed our strength. When we come together to fight for progressives across the country, it is because we understand that all of us are linked by these issues that must be solved, that all of us see a better world with progressive champions if we elect them in Kentucky to New York, all the way over here to Colorado. And we need progressives to go all in to fill up Congress so that we can fight for our collective need for systemic changes. And each state is a win for all of us, no matter where we are. So I want to thank all of you who are not in one of those 3 states who have been throwing down for these elections. What I want to say and what I've learned in working on these campaigns is that we have stood up to the people in power who have tried to silence us and who have demanded that they don't want to be a part of the work that we're doing. But we have demanded that they listen and that they step aside while we fight for better representatives to take over. And they had no choice this time around but to hear us rise. We are the leaders, and so we get to decide where we go. And this is not to say that they won't fight back with everything that they've got to try and stop us. So when the DSCC endorsed Hickenlooper for US Senate in Colorado, they told all of us in Colorado that our voice and our vote doesn't matter to them. That's why they spent millions of dollars to bail Hickenlooper out, despite all of the news around his corruption and bad calls throughout time as I'm very hyped up, as a representative. So in Colorado right now, we're at a clear crossroads. We get to choose between a representative who is clear-minded and ready to fight beside us for bold and progressive changes, who is ready to fight the climate crisis and create millions of good jobs, who wants to give everyone health care, who will demand justice and fight oppression and make sure that our society works for every single one of us. And we get to make that choice in just 5 days if we elect Andrew Romanoff as our senator, and I believe that we will win. So now I need all of you to help throw down with me to get him elected. They may have the money on their side, but money doesn't win races. People do. And we have something that we're actually fighting for. This is our collective fight, and this is our collective voice and our time to rise. And I'm grateful to each and every one of you for being a part of the movement that we need in order to win. So with that, I want to name the man of the hour and give him space to speak. It is my greatest honor to welcome U.S. Senate candidate Andrew Romanoff.
Thanks so much, Michelle and Mike, and anybody else who is on this call from Colorado, but not just the folks who can actually vote in this race, everybody across the country who are helping to make me and Charles Booker Sunrise Senators. I know you all are excited as I am by the results that are coming out of Kentucky and obviously Jamaal Bowman's victory in New York. We're going to win this race, as Michelle said, not because we have the most money, we don't, but because we have the most spirit. And that is what this movement is all about. Last summer, you all decided that you wanted to invest in a climate champion, in a healthcare champion, in the progressive movement that we're building here in Colorado and across the country. And now Washington nervous because they know that we're poised to win this race on Tuesday. When we'll find an end to this climate crisis, police brutality, when we win this we need, and when we win, we'll make sure that we not only say Black Lives Matter, we'll actually act like that every single day. I'm not going to win this race simply by being the non-Hickenlooper. That's not good enough. And it's not enough just to flip a seat from red to blue. When we win this race, we'll show instead that a progressive, people-powered grassroots movement can compete with and defeat the corporate establishment. They're very nervous in Washington right now. If you follow this race at all, you probably know that. They have spent something like $4 million in anonymous attacks just in the last 8 days because they know that their candidate is losing altitude and you all are going to help bring him down. So I want to just say from the bottom of my heart how much it means to me to have the backing of this group, this movement, this cause. It is a difficult time for me and my family, and I'll just share with you a note on a personal note. We're putting my dad in hospice this week, and I'm here in Ohio, taking some time off of the campaign trail in Colorado to be with him in his last days. But what I've reflected on today is that unlike too many Americans, my dad actually has the resources to get the care he needs and has throughout his life. Too many folks in the richest nation on the face of the earth can't do that. One of the reasons we're fighting so hard for healthcare reform is because you and I believe that all Americans should be able to get the care they need, no matter where they come from or how much money they make. And that's important to me. It is a matter of
So we're having
I
a
appreciate
couple.
everything you all have already done, and I'm looking forward to seeing you on our victory party on Tuesday night. Come to our virtual victory party. We'll send you an invitation. Thanks for everything you're doing.
Thank you, Andrew. Thanks for hopping on this call. We appreciate you. Having a couple different technological difficulty, but we in it. We in it. So we're building a movement for the long haul, and in order to win a livable future and a better world, we must fight racism and end institutional systems that have been oppressing people of color. That is our mission as a movement. Specifically in Colorado, the movement for Black Lives is already creating big changes. Yo, we've been killing it recently. In the last 2 weeks, we got cops out of DPS schools, which is also fighting the school to prison pipeline system. We've abolished qualified immunity, and communities across Colorado are standing up to demand accountability for the murder of Aurora resident and 14-year-old Elijah McClain. We know that we can never go back to where we were before. People are rising up and demanding justice, so we got to keep our drive going. We got to keep that fire. We got to be hungry for change, people. So I'm asking all of you to sign up for our Defund the Police crash course. Collectively, we can learn and build skills to work towards a society that uplifts communities and to end police and state violence. Um, Also, that should be a link dropped in the chat really soon, so you guys can sign up for that. And also, while you guys are signing up for that course, for us to dismantle white supremacy, we have to have both action in the streets and work to elect progressive champions, aka Andrew Romanoff, that will fight with us. In Colorado, the Senate race will determine whether we have a senator committed to the movement for Black lives, or if we have a senator who's not just racist, but is also responsible for increasing police violence in our state. And I'm going to talk a little bit more on that. Basically, while being Denver mayor, Hickenlooper increased a racist policing tactic called broken windows policing. And basically what this policy did was it cracked down on small and nonviolent crimes like sleeping in a park, jaywalking, having taillights out, etc. And it led to more police violence and incarceration against Black Coloradans. And Hickenlooper tried to add more money for the profit prisons, which is just a tiny bit racist, it's the slightest. And so I'll say it again: our fight for a livable future starts and ends with ending white supremacy. We must fight for a progressive candidate who will join us in this fight. So we need to hold people like Hickenlooper accountable and get their booties out of power. That's all I'm saying. Romanoff is the person that we need for Senate in Colorado for this election. First off, he'll fight to restructure the whole system to end oppression, institutional systems that have consistently been held to hold people of color back. Also, he began his career at the Southern Poverty Law Center, fighting the KKK and other neo-Nazi groups. He's also prepared to fight to take funding from police infrastructures, defunding police, one big step, to create a better community, and also have programs that will help and really actually support and invest in these communities. So while we fight for progressive champions like Andrew, we need to fight for people like him because he knows that people's lives are at stake. And he will stand for us to have change for our society. So yeah. I'm gonna pass it off to Maya real quick. But last thing I want to say is that, like Charles said, this is not a moment. This is a movement. So we want to call all the fighters we can, all these progressive champions who are ready to make moves with us for the long haul until we find justice. So yeah, I'm gonna pass it off to my girl Maya. Get that?
Woo woo, that's me in my Romanoff shirt. Hi y'all. I'm just gonna share a little bit of my experience phone banking because I know it can be scary at first, and I was definitely a little bit nervous when I first started phone banking, but all the people and all the faces who were there encouraging me were really, really helpful, and that's all what phone banking is about. So yeah, Sunrise is a really great place to get phone banking because you get training before you get on the dialer, and there's always people there to support you in the chat. And I've had so many great experiences phone banking. There was one time when I actually had a call with a man who was like in his 80s, and he was really patient and really nice, and we had a long conversation, and then he told me that usually he relies on people who are canvassing and knocking on doors to help walk him through his ballot. And obviously during the time of Corona, we can't have that. And so I helped him through his ballot, and it was just such a cool experience because it shows that phone banking is also about just helping people and making sure that they are voting and helping them participate in our democracy. So that's really important, and it just shows that we have such an important message to push. And such a great man to elect to be our Colorado senator. And phone banking with Sunrise couldn't be easier. There's training before every dial, or there's trainings before every phone bank. And yeah, it's so important that we do this. It's going to be how we win this. So please, I invite you and I please ask you to please come and phone bank with us for the last 5 days. We're phone banking right after this, and we really need all the help we can get so that Colorado, our state, can have a progressive champion in the Senate. So yeah, thank you. I'm gonna pass it back to Mike.
Woo. Thank you, Maya, for sharing your experience. And y'all, she's only 15 years old. She out here doing work. She's an incredible leader in Colorado, specifically the Sunrise Movement. And she's been throwing down hard. She out here trying to get Andrew elected. So we need all of you to do the same. So let's find that inner strength, inner drive, that inner hunger, and sign up together right now to make calls for Andrew. I want to ask that everyone signs up for at least 2 shifts between now and Tuesday nights. Also, drop 2 pluses in the chat when you've done that. Much appreciated. But no, I just want people to know that honestly, I was a little nervous the first few times I called voters. But basically, after you make connections with people who, like me, are really excited to elect progressive, committed people and officials in our office, and especially in our communities, I always end up hanging up from the dialer feeling pretty inspired and, pretty hyped too. So yeah, these races are won and lost by people who are nervous to be out there. So we need you to get out that little turtle shell. We need you hype. We need you right now. We need you doing work. So everyone on this call, just being on this call is brave, because it shows that you're fighting and you're putting in that work, and it's worth putting ourselves out to talk to our communities. So yeah, you specifically, I don't know where you at, on your phone, on your computer, wherever you at. We need you right now. We're all busy. We all have a lot of things going on, and we know that this is bigger than any one of us. So yeah, there's no me in team. Actually, no, there is me in team. That means you. So think of what you can do to help us gain more progressive champions and help them get elected in positions of power, because we do really need that. Also, another thing, I want to make 2 asks to everyone in the call right now. Like I said before, if you haven't already, please sign up for 2 shifts for Andrew. And then number 2, copy and paste that link and text it right now to a friend or family. Get your little social medias popping, or someone in your hub, anyone really, and ask them to sign up with you. This movement is a lot about us getting involved in fighting for change. We're trying to get anyone that we know involved in participating and fired up as much as hopefully you are in this call. And who better to bring more support than friends and family? So please text them now and get them as pumped as we are from fighting for Andrew. Also, moderators, if you can get a sample text in the chat, that would be dope. And yeah, drop an exclamation point when you've done that. Let's build people empowered. We out here. We want to do work. Got to be hungry for this. I want to see this chat light up. So, I'm going to be giving shout outs out here when I see, okay. See you, Robbie Phillips, PCCC, my PCCC, Sophie. Ooh, keep them coming. I'm loving this out here. Ooh. Yo, I want to keep these texts coming. I want to keep seeing them exclamation marks. You guys are out here doing work. Also, I want to thank all of you guys so much. It was an incredible boost, and this is very important in determining this race. So if we can't hit our goal, or if we haven't hit our goal, there's still time to get more signups. So please send this to your friends and family as soon as possible. Because, we all in here for the long haul. We got to ensure that we have progressive champions. I'm going to keep saying that. Gotta emphasize progressive champions. We want them all through Congress that will fight for us, make that change, make that action that we actually need in these communities. And it takes a lot from us to make that happen, as is the phone banking. So an organization who has been deep in this fight too is the Progressive Change Campaign Committee, aka PCCC, I like to call it. So yeah, I'm gonna pass it off to my boys.
Wow, that was quite the intro. I'm not sure I'm cool enough for this Zoom, honestly. So let's see. Andrew Romanoff believes that the children are our future, and that's why we were on this. That's why we're supporting him. So, as some of you know, Progressive Change Campaign Committee, we've been around about 11 years. Myself and my co-founder, Stephanie Taylor, started it in 2009. And we do a bunch of candidate trainings, as well as fundraising and organizing for candidates and around progressive issue positions. And I'll just tell you a little bit about why we are so passionate about this Colorado Senate primary. John Hickenlooper is not just someone who's a weak liberal. He's not just someone who votes wrong when given the opportunity. John Hickenlooper is someone who will be an active underminer from the inside, similar to Joe Lieberman back in the day, right? Someone who, even when Democrats want to do the right thing, he will be there saying, I'm going to say no. And in a state that just elected a Democratic governor by double digits, who was campaigning on Medicare for all, we can do better than an underminer in chief. We can have a bold progressive champion. And that's why it's so significant that Andrew Romanoff is surging in the polls, running on a Green New Deal, running on Medicare for all, running on economic and racial justice. And we will have something to actually be proud of if he is the Democratic nominee, as opposed to just trying to hold our nose and hope for the best. I would argue that we will actually have a better chance of winning in the general election if we can get our base out and get swing voters out by having an inspiring message, as opposed to someone who sounds like a Republican in an increasingly Democratic state. So we're thrilled that PCCC members just in the last several days have already chipped in about $15,000 to Romanoff's campaign. We're thrilled to ask them to volunteer and give them opportunities. And we're also thrilled to be partnering with the Sunrise Movement and other progressive partners. What Tuesday proved was, in Jamaal Bowman's district and in Charles Booker's campaign, is that progressives no longer have to be at the mercy of the establishment putting their finger on the scale. We don't have to just bear it. When we're all in together, we can totally crush it and win. So New York, Kentucky, Colorado, sounds like a pretty good trifecta, and the PCCC is all in for Andrew Romanoff, side by side with the Sunrise Movement and others. So thanks so much, everybody.
Woo! Thank you again, Adam Green. Thanks for coming, representing PCCC. Check that out if you guys have free time. I'm gonna bring it back to Andrew so we can make sure he's on, and then pass it to him to finish what he was saying, and then go into the next part. It's all you, Andrew.
Thanks, Mike. Thank you. I hope you guys can hear me now. Sorry, I was in transit earlier. And I really wanted to say, I'll say this again. I'm going to keep saying this actually until Tuesday night, and then right on through November, to the Sunrise Movement, to the PCCC, to all the progressive allies that are making our victory possible. Thank you. When we win this race, it won't be because of the Washington establishment. It will be in spite of their opposition. It won't be because we raise the most money. We're not. It'll be because of the work, the spirit, the effort, the commitment, the passion, the enthusiasm, the diligence, the persistence, the fearlessness that you all are bringing to this fight. It inspires me. You inspire me. I will become, just like Charles Booker, a Sunrise senator, hoping to form a Sunrise caucus in the U.S. House and the U.S. Senate. And I will tell you this, when we win this race, a generation from now, people will look back on this moment in time as the point at which we finally turned course. The moment when we said enough to a broken for-profit employer-based insurance system, enough to a climate emergency that forces millions, or perhaps by the middle of the century, 1 billion people to flee their homes, enough to a racist administration that tears our families apart and cages our children, enough to the horror of gun violence and police brutality, enough to economic inequality and racial injustice. This will be the moment. And I know it's hard to see because we're living in it, but just as other great battles in American history on behalf of progressive causes, just as we look back on those eras and thank the leaders who made progress possible, that is what I know the historians will point to this time, a generation from now. I am really heartened by the early and strong support the Sunrise Movement has brought to this cause. Back when nobody thought it possible, last summer, when you challenged me to sign the No Fossil Fuel Money Pledge, and I did, when you signed on to our campaign, when you hosted climate actions across the country, you are making this possible. And the stakes couldn't be any higher because when we win this race, we're literally poised to rescue life on Earth. You heard a little bit from my friend Adam Green about what we're up against on the other side, a corporate establishment that has now poured $4 million in dark money into this race just in the last 8 days. I take it as a compliment. They wouldn't spend all that money if they weren't nervous, and they should be, because their grip on power is slowly coming to an end. In New York, in Kentucky, all across the country, there is an earthquake. You can feel it in Colorado, and the tremors can be felt all the way in Washington, D.C. I'm going to invite you to our victory party on Tuesday night because this victory and this seat belong to you. I really appreciate what you're doing. I hope you'll sign up to Phone Bank because the election is taking place now. It's true, election night is Tuesday, but people are voting as we speak. And there are almost 2 million Democrats and unaffiliated voters who have not yet returned their ballots. So your phone banks will help it make it possible for us to reach all of those voters and bring this bold progressive agenda to more of them. One thing we know for certain is that when people actually have a chance to size up our agenda and the other guys, we win. He'll win if nobody notices. If we allow the corporate establishment to just buy this election and sell another Senate seat to the highest bidder. Please don't let that happen. You and I have worked too long and too hard and come too far to surrender now. I know that the insurance companies, the drug companies, and the fossil fuel companies are not going to surrender without a fight. They just didn't see us coming. We have had a little bit of the element of surprise on our hand. So I hope you'll keep it going right up until June 30th. And when that happens, when we win this race, it'll be because of you. Thank you for what you're doing every single day.
Woo! I could not have said that any better. Thank you, Andrew. Thank you again for coming here. And even though you're traveling, and prayers out to your father out here. So
Thanks, Mike. I appreciate that. I was really emboldened by a terrific new video. Have you had a chance to see that by any chance? There's a star. A star is born. Yeah, check it out. AndrewRomanoff.com. You can find a video.
Little ad, little script coming in. Oh yeah, thank you, Andrew.
Thank you.
So next up, I want to invite a badass climate justice activist, journalist, author, professor, and founder of 350.org. My dude, he out here doing work. He's been doing this work longer than I've been alive, so that really shows how young I am, or yeah, he continues to fight for bold climate initiatives and for progressive champions like Andrew Romanoff, who will help us get through this. So I'm excited to introduce the one, the only, Bill McKibben.
Mike, it's a tremendous pleasure to be able to join you guys. First of all, to Andrew, good for you to be in Ohio with your dad, and the rest of us have got this for you. That's what it means to have a team, and that's why we need everybody doing all the work we can right now. Second thing is, I saw all the guff in the chat about you guys catching me eating dinner on video. First thing I'll say is, when you're an old person, you have to eat dinner, you get really cranky. Second thing I'll say is, if I didn't eat dinner while I was doing Zoom, I don't think I'd ever eat again anymore these days. But the third thing, the important thing is, I was drinking good Vermont microbrew. I was not drinking flacking fluid. So that's what you got to bear in mind. Look, It could not be more important to do this right this week. We know what's going on right now in America. We know that we're at a moment like we haven't seen before in a very long time, a moment of just real opportunity and openness and possibility for change. And that's because everybody's been out in the streets. That's because everybody's been standing up with great courage. But to make it real and last over time, one of the things we got to do is elect the people that can take those visions and write them into law. Timing is crucial for another reason. The planet's just about out of it. Probably some of you saw over the course of the last few days that we had, for the first time in recorded history, a temperature of 100 degrees Fahrenheit above the Arctic Circle. I've spent my life working on the science and the policy and the movement building around climate change, and I know that we are running out of time. We don't have congressional cycles to waste. We've got to do what we've got to do, and we've got to do it now. Third thing I'll say about timing is, and this is the really good news, in politics, momentum is everything. And that's what Andrew Romanoff's got right now. He is surging, just the way that Jamaal Bowman surged, just the way that Charles Booker surged. A couple of lengths back at the top of the turn, but then heading for home, sprinting. And you guys got to be the wind that's pushing. That's how momentum works. It's got to go right through Tuesday, right through the end of the day on Tuesday, making every call, crossing off every name on the list, making sure everybody knows. Momentum really is key, and we've got it, so let's put the pedal down now. I remember the first congressional campaign I worked on when I was 13 years old. So I was in essence, I was pretty much skipping school in 7th grade almost every day to work for the progressive congressional candidate in my district in Massachusetts. And he was an upstart, and he beat an incumbent. And I remember what it felt like that night that he won, because we'd all worked so hard to make sure that it would happen. So work as hard as you can these next few days. And then on Tuesday night, party like anything, because come Wednesday, we got to get back to work and win the general election. Take care, y'all.
Woo! Thank you again, Bill. Mr. Bill. You're killing it. Keep killing it. Yo, you doing work out here. Next up, I want to introduce my boy, Tezcott, better known as X. We hype out here. Ooh, get in here, bro.
Yo. Can y'all hear me?
Yep, you good.
Word. What's up, everybody? What's up, Sunrise? What's up, Colorado? Grateful to be a part of the live stream. This evening is really interesting. I feel very familiar with this battle that we are experiencing right now, where it is literally Hickenlooper versus not just Andrew Romanoff, but versus the people. And I've been organizing in Colorado. My family, I grew up in Boulder. My dad's from Mexico City. My people are the Mexica peoples, the indigenous peoples of Mexico Tenochtitlan. And growing up in Colorado, my first experiences organizing were to defend and protect our community from the oil and gas industry, from the expansion of the fracking, the natural gas industry. When I was 10, 11, 12 years old, I was traveling all across Colorado with my little brother, going to different elementary schools, middle schools, high schools, educating students about the impacts of this industry and the lies and the propaganda that they were literally pumping into schools And the work that I've done my entire life has been in the realm of climate and environmental justice through a lens of intersections from the various different issues that deeply are connected to climate justice. And it was really in about 2011, 2012 in this struggle that I really witnessed and kind of came to the term. I was like 12 years old. I came to terms with this reality that just because a politician is running on a Democratic platform or that is running as a Democrat does not mean that they're going to fight for you. Does not mean that they're going to uphold their values and their promises to the people, because in reality, these elected officials that we help put in power, that the people help put in power, were more beholden to the fossil fuel industry, to private interests, than they were to the communities, where we reached the point where we were passing moratoriums and bans in municipalities across Colorado. People were mobilizing to create the change because we couldn't get it at a state level, because these elected officials, because Hickenlooper, when he was governor, wouldn't work with us because he was totally beholden to the fossil fuel industry. And so we began to make local change, and he started suing the different municipalities across Colorado that were pushing for bans and moratoriums on fracking. And so I really witnessed that. It was really the people versus Hickenlooper and the natural gas and the oil industry. And that struggle has continued since, and so much powerful organizing has been done by my relatives and my different people in Colorado, who to this day are continuing the struggle against the expansion of this destructive industry, this racist industry that is founded in environmental injustice, racial injustice, environmental racism. And we find ourselves now at a very different moment than we were at in 2012. Than we were at when I was 12 years old and I was in front of our county commissioners in Boulder County talking about these issues. And it's been beautiful to see the organizing landscape evolve and develop and change. And we are at an unprecedented moment in time where this uprising, this multi-generational, multiracial movement to defend Black life, is taking the world by storm. And in Colorado, and as we have this opportunity to elect Andrew Romanoff to play our part, to politically invest in a candidate who is going to fight for our planet, for our people, who understands the deep intersections of racial, environmental, economic justice, who is fighting for a Green New Deal, who can help pass through these visions that our generation has always had of a better, cleaner, more just, regenerative future economy for all of us. And these wins of progressive leaders that we are seeing across the country are showing us that when we dare to imagine a world brighter than the one that we exist within, and when we fight like hell for that, we can win. And we continue to win time and time again. And I think we're going to shock the world with this race with Romanoff. And I'm excited to beat Hickenlooper. I'm excited for us, for the people, to beat Hickenlooper. So sign up to phone bank, sign up to play your part, hit up all your friends, tell them to get involved. And I'm really grateful to all the people who've been holding it down on the grounds, doing the grassroots organizing. The last few years, I've done a lot of national and international work and haven't been so tapped into the grassroots, honestly. And so I'm grateful to be, just supporting the work that has, the groundwork that Sunrise Movement Colorado has been doing. So as well as being a spokesperson and an activist and a representative of the Earth Guardians movement, I'm an artist, I'm a rapper, and I figured there was no better way to end it than the little verse, the little poem. And I wrote this a couple years back when we were fighting really, really hard for Proposition 112, to protect our communities from fracking. I think it's appropriate for the time we are in right now. And it goes, let's go like this. It says, take it back. I could barely walk when I started thinking. Revolutionary thoughts, 8 years old, saw the country sinking. First Black president, far from being heaven sent. Obama taught me our hero is not a politician. Statements about the rising tides, but still fracking the country. Leadership in both parties poisoned with petroleum money. Ballad of the black gold, America's greatest addiction. Now we live in gaslands, not a bridge, no transition. With my communities, we shut it down. 2012 commissioners were in our way. We ran the asses out from the streets to the ballot box. From the streets to the ballot box, the industry is worried now. They buying at our allies, took the signatures out of town, paying black kids for harassment while they're gathering, sickening. I can see the money drive the madness. The oil companies are racist, don't care about no black lives, targeting communities of color. Bella Romero, Hickenlooper, choking on that oil money, hands tied, bondage, in bed with the industry. He the bad guy. Plus they spending millions to keep us off the ballot. Keep the people misinformed so we don't know what's happening. They afraid of us. We the biggest threat to the bottom line. We about to show the world what we do when they mobilize. We rise, we vote, drive-bys in the speedboat. We monkey race the pipelines from Dakota to the East Coast. Snakes in the grass, hitting fast like Curry with the free throw. From Red Rocks to Standing Rock, all my shows are in beast mode. Sweeter than Piloncillo. Sweeter than Piloncillo. Filo de obsidiana, tlapani con la voz. Por mi raza mexicana. Cultural survival in my DNA. Genocide, it wasn't enough. We still here today. This is the same thing they did to my people way, way back. Exploit all the resources and take our riches from the land. This our generation's battle with colonization. Our ancestors gave us all the tools to win the war we waging. Native America, La Cola to Mapuche. We go be the ones to lead the world into the future. I saw that true power, my power, you power, people power manifested and given the youth power. I saw corruption, the way that our leaders use power. Rory said, let's take it back. New wave, new power. The power of the people is more powerful with our people in power. I believe that this can be our finest hour. Go call your friends. Go vote. Thank y'all for having me. Please.
Bro, I think my house is on fire right now. But I'm speechless. That was just fire. Keep up. We appreciate you, X. Keep spitting that fire.
Much love, bro. Appreciate you.
But like you was saying, we're living in a time where we're basically in a history book right now. We want to be here for kids who are going to be reading about us in a couple years or whatever. We want to be that change. We want to be that action. So we got to fight for progressive champions like Andrew. So I can't emphasize how important it is for us to be phone banking. When we win, we'll be able to look back at how much we pushed these last 5 days out here. Now, time to throw it all down and fight for the people. Woo! I'm gonna start closing it out, but I encourage everybody to stick around and join us with the phone banking after this call. I want to transition us into getting rooted as a movement, and as we gear up to fight for this race, I also want us to reflect on where we were. Tonight, we're coming off of some huge historic wins for our movement. For example, Jamaal Bowman in New York, he's won his primary for Congress against Elliot Engel, a powerful committee chair. My boy been backed by the New York political machine for about 30 years out here, so he need to get out of office. And we're still waiting for the results of Charles Booker, but I heard that he is now leading. That's dope. We putting in that work out here. But yeah, he's in a Senate race against Democratic establishment backed by Amy McGrath, who's fighting to challenge Mitch McConnell, one of the most powerful Republican senators in this country. So yeah, with that, I'm gonna pass it to my girl, Erin. Woo. Get it.
Hi, everybody. Thank you, Mike, and thank you to Teska, Bill, everybody. I'm feeling so hype. Coming to you all from just like an incredibly amazing week here in Kentucky. This is a photo of me and my mom out canvassing this past week. It's just been awesome. I have been a part of Sunrise since our start. And helped kick off a lot of our organizing work here in Kentucky, where I was born and raised. And I'm just so damn proud to be on this call repping Kentucky and repping this campaign with Charles Booker. We're still waiting on a lot of the results. But no matter what happens, we are showing this country that we're winning. Our movement, our candidates, our partners have shocked the world and the political establishment by showing the world that places like my home in Kentucky, places like Queens and the Bronx with Jamaal and AOC aren't to be messed with, that we won't be left behind and that we won't be left out of the conversation any longer. This is why we are on this call. This is why we are about to make calls for Andrew Romanoff. We are just coming off some really huge wins, and folks have been putting in just hella work. And I want to talk about it for just a few minutes to just ground us in what it means to win. So on Wednesday, we got the news that Jamaal Bowman won in New York 16. Let's see the support in the chat. Let's celebrate together. We defeated the establishment candidate, Elliot Engel. This is huge. He is the head of the Foreign Affairs Committee, and he is gone. Sunrise helped elect Jamaal. He is a Black community leader who has been supporting New York throughout the COVID crisis and leading in the protests for Black lives. And Sunrise has also been showing up so hard for Charles Booker right here in Kentucky. Like we said, Charles, we don't have the results just yet, but he is within margin of victory with Amy McGrath. That is despite the $40 million that she raised. And, no matter what happens, the fact that we are even within reach of winning is a miracle in and of itself. And Sunrise has just so much to be proud of for where we are right now. Over the past few months, we have engaged thousands of new people to step into their leadership. I was so inspired this past week with Zara and Yara on our Instagram stories, hyping up these phone banks for our candidates. Folks like you and other teenagers who have been leading these phone banks have helped hundreds of volunteers to phone bank and bring in their cousins, bring in their parents, and bring in their best friends to make these phone calls. It's so important, you guys. I mean, talk about the Jamaal Bowman race. Sunrise made 800,000 of the dials of the 1.3 million calls in total that went into Jamaal's campaign. That is huge. In addition to those wins, we have been gaining real political power on the inside too. We're so sad that Bernie came up a little bit short in the primary, but because of his leadership and because of the power of this movement, one of our very own movement leaders, Varshini Prakash, is now helping to write Biden's climate plan. And Bernie's campaign and Sunrise's power behind it also paved the way for candidates like Bowman and like Charles Booker, like Andrew Romanoff, to be able to be in the path towards victory. And, finally, in the middle of a pandemic, in the middle of these huge elections, our movement has also been organizing and showing up by the thousands in the protests and the movement for Black lives. We have been saying the names of George Floyd, Breonna Taylor from right here in Louisville, Tony McDade, Nita Pop, Elijah McClain, Rashard Brooks. These people should be alive. And our movement has been showing up. We have been organizing. We have been making phone calls. We've been involved in mutual aid. We have been showing up. And I just want to thank every single one of you who has been a part of it. And so I want to take a moment before we close out, just to invite everyone who's here to take a moment and really reflect on something that you're really proud of from the past couple of weeks. Maybe it was a phone call that you made. Maybe it was a moment at an action where you felt the fire and you felt the tide of us winning in this moment. I can share an example while folks are typing it in the chat. I was hanging out with the Booker campaign last week, and I told them that Sunrise volunteers had just made over 200,000 calls to Kentuckians in 1 hour. And the campaign was like, holy shit, did you guys know? Did you guys know that teenagers making phone calls was going to be the revolution? And that was just awesome. So drop in some other moments that you're feeling really proud of from the past couple of weeks. I'm seeing someone else sharing how many calls made were for Charles. Someone has invited 3 friends to phone bank. Keep dropping these in. When the results came in on Tuesday and it became clear that Bowman had won, Maya says hosting their first hub-wide phone bank is a new hub. Oh my God, that's huge. Use my broken Spanish to convince a woman to vote for Jamaal. Way to go, Montana. Someone talked to a woman who thought the absentee ballot was due already and realized she could submit it because the deadline hadn't passed. That's huge. Every single one of these moments matter, and they build up over time. Collectively, we're just building up so much power. So this is why we're here. I want folks to please sign up for 2 more shifts for Andrew in these final few days as we head into the last few days of this race for Romanoff. Awesome. So yeah, I'm just gonna close us with sharing a little bit, just some last few things about Kentucky. You know, everyone growing up here, I really feel like this past few weeks has been so surreal because, you know, Mitch McConnell, he grew up here in Louisville. He went to my high school, and he has also been in office my entire life. You travel around the country, and people say things about Kentucky like, oh, those backwards hicks, like they don't know anything about what to do. They keep voting Mitch into office. And, you know, you grow up in that environment, and you grow up with the whole country seeing you as a joke or seeing you as a tragedy, and you start to believe that. And, you know, young folks here have been rising up and saying, we won't stand for that anymore. And Charles said, we won't stand for that anymore. And he said at the very start of his campaign, if you have faith the size of a mustard seed, you can move a mountain. And over these past few months, we have moved huge mountains. Everywhere that I have gone in the past few weeks, door knocking and driving around my city, I see Charles Booker signs everywhere. And people are talking about him. The city is just like electric. I have never seen it like this before. And you're really just seeing what it feels like for people to believe again and believe what is possible. And Charles has set that into motion, and Sunrise has helped set that into motion. Our movement believed, and we kept fighting, and that mustard seed has started to move the mountain. Amy McGrath did not see us coming. Mitch McConnell certainly did not see us coming. And now we've shown the world that even when you've been outraised 10-1, when you are down 50 points, when you are worried you can't fundraise enough to keep the campaign going for another month, the fact that we believe got us here and we can do anything. And now we are within reach. Kentucky is within reach of electing its first Black senator and ending Mitch McConnell's career as the #1 most powerful Republican in our country. The fact that we are within reach of that is a victory. And I just want to thank each and every one of you. We are winning because people like you, young people, believed in the everyday folks to elect candidates like the school principal, Jamaal, like the visionary Southern leader, Charles Booker, that, you know, they've been talking about the Green New Deal. They've been talking about Medicare for all, Black Lives Matter. These candidates can win. They will win in places like Kentucky because they're uniting us. And together we're going to keep shocking the world. We're just getting started. Young people are the most diverse generation in history, and we aren't going to play by the rules any longer. We're not going to be stopped. So we're going to close out as folks get on the phone lines here for Andrew Romanoff, and I just thank every single one of you for the wins that we've gotten so far. Pass it back to you, Mike.
Thank you, Erin. That was hype. Like she was saying, we are the gears in the machine of change. We are out here. We have to have that drive. We have to have that passion. Whatever personal issue or personal goal that you work for this movement for, you have to hold on to that. Like, whatever it is, we don't have the luxury to have someone like John Hickenlooper in office. We don't have the luxury for these Black communities, for these people of color, for these low-income communities who can't afford resources to get out of those places. So I just want to say thank you to everyone who's come. Reminder, there's still a phone bank right after this, so please join us. We really need everybody's help in this. Like I was saying before, all of this passion, all this momentum, all of this work, we gotta grind it out. We got a couple more days left. If we just do a couple more phone banks, get your friends out there, we're gonna kill it. Then we're gonna party, we're gonna laugh about this like, shoot, he never really had a chance, Hickenlooper. So I just want to say thank you, everyone, for coming. You being here says a lot. It's a statement. But to make that next step, we got to keep this phone banking going on. We have to keep this momentum. We got to keep that drive, that hunger. So, yeah, I want to say good night. I know there's people everywhere, different places, so I'll see you guys all over. Good night, good evening, wherever you're at. Thank you for coming. We appreciate you. Thank you.